being continued to the September 26, 2023 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A3, Special Use 230308. Applicant is Gulf Stream Towers, LLC. This application is being continued by staff to the September 26, 2023 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A4, Variance 230471. Applicant is Melba Mersed. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 26, 2023 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A5, Special Use 230481. Applicant is David Wright, TSP Companies Incorporated. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 26, 2023 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A6, Variance 230497. Applicant is Anthony and Carol Knopfsinger. This application has been withdrawn by the petitioner. Item A7, Special Use 230586. Applicant is Navigator Academy of Leadership South Shore. This application is being continued by the applicant to the November 20th, 2023 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A8, Variance 230590. Applicant is Yenli Gerald Perello. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 26, 2023 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A9, Special Use 230605. Applicant is Ian Lieberman, AJI Fowler, LLC. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 26, 2023 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A10, Special Use 230631. Applicant is Circle K Stores Incorporated. This application has been withdrawn by the petitioner. Item A11, Variance 230756. The applicant is Maria Marriage. This application has been withdrawn by the petitioner. Item A12, Variance 230763. Applicant is William Lloyd, RKM Development. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued and is continuing to the September 26, 2023 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. This concludes the continuances and withdrawals.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll start today by going over our hearing procedures. Our hearing today consists of agenda items that require a public hearing by a land use hearing officer. I'll conduct a hearing on each agenda item and will file a decision within 15 working days following today's hearing. Our hearing today is informal. I'll ask questions related to the scope of direct testimony. I may call and question witnesses as I deem appropriate, and I will decide all questions of procedure. I will take evidence but exclude evidence that is irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious. Evidence may be presented in written form, and all testimony must be under oath. Hearsay evidence may be used to supplement or explain other evidence, but shall not be sufficient alone to support a finding by me unless it would be admissible over objections in a civil action. Our order of presentation is as follows. We have two types of applications on today's agenda. You'll see the very first part of our hearing are all variances, and then the latter part of the agenda are special uses. The order of presentation is the same except for who goes first. In the case of variances, the staff goes first. So Development Services will present their staff report and findings, and then the applicant will go next on variances, who has 15 minutes to make their presentation. In the case of special uses, the applicant goes first and has that 15 minutes to present their case, and then the staff goes second. After that, we will have the Planning Commission, in the case of one special use application we have today, who present their findings of consistency with the comprehensive plan. And then next we'll go to proponents. Anyone who would like to speak in favor of an application. Total time for proponents, 15 minutes. Same is true when we go to opponents. Anyone who would like to speak against an application. Everyone all combined, 15 minutes. We'll then go back to Development Services to give them a chance to make any changes, comments on the hearing as it unfolds today. And then finally, in both cases, the applicant has the last word in rebuttal with 5 minutes to address any items they would like to do. So regarding that time for proponents or opponents. I don't think we have this issue today, but just in case, if there are multiple people that would like to speak either in favor or against an application, I'll ask for a show of hands. We have people in the room, but we also have people that are participating virtually. So we'll count the number of people that would like to speak in favor, for example, and we'll divide that 15 minutes as equally as we can so that everyone gets a chance. If you are going to speak, whether you're in the room or participating online, start by giving us your name and address for the record. We're recording this hearing and we want to make sure that we have everyone who spoke, that we have it recorded for the record. If you are in the room when you're done, if you could see Joe, he's at the end of the dais, he's with the clerk's office. He is keeping a log of who spoke. So when you're done, just head over to him and sign in with your name and address and the case number that you spoke about. All right, let me now turn to the county attorney, Ms. Dorman, who will provide the legal requirements for appealing a decision made by a land use hearing officer. Ms. Dorman.
Mary Dorman from the County Attorney's Office. This land use hearing officer public hearing is for variance and special use requests. This is the time for interested parties to present evidence and testimony. Once the hearing officer has closed a case, the record of that case is also closed, and no new evidence regarding that case may be submitted thereafter. Any decision by the hearing officer may be appealed to the Land Use Appeals Board. Should a decision of the hearing officer be appealed, the evidence and testimony presented at this public hearing shall be the only evidence that is subject to review by the Appeals Board. In reaching a final decision on petitions, the Appeals Board will only consider the decision of the hearing officer and the record made at this public hearing. If an appeal is filed, the Appeals Board hearing shall consist of oral argument by the party appealing the decision, county staff, and any interveners, each of whom may be represented by legal counsel. The following shall have standing to appeal a decision of the hearing officer or to intervene in an appeal. 1, the applicant, or 2, anyone who appeared before the hearing officer, presented testimony or other evidence, and is adversely affected by the decision of the hearing officer. It is the role of the county attorney's office to ensure that no new evidence or testimony is allowed before the appeals board that was not presented to the hearing officer at today's hearing. The county attorney will recommend that the appeals board disregard evidence or testimony that is outside the record made at today's public hearing. Any evidence presented to the appeals board that is outside the record created at today's hearing could jeopardize the legality of the appeals board decision, and the presenter of that evidence could hurt their own cause. The safest course of action, then, is for you to write down any comments you make today and repeat them to the appeals board.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. As I mentioned, all testimony must be under oath. So if you plan to speak today, if you could please stand and raise your right hand, and I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you so much. Please be seated. All right, Ms. Marshall, we're ready to call the first case.
Today's agenda, we have no vested rights, fee waivers, remands, or reconsideration requests, which then takes us to section F, site development variance request. First item is item F1, variance 230751. The applicant is Esther Sapero. The request is a variance to encroach into the wetland setback. Staff findings will be provided by Carla Shelton Knight.
All right, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Carla Shelton Knight with Hillsborough County Development Services. The applicant is requesting a variance from the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback requirement, section 4.01.07B of the Land Development Code. The applicant's specific request, as shown on the site plan submitted on August 17th, 2023, is to allow for the construction of a pool, deck, and safety fence within the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. Per Land Development Code, section 4.01.07.B.4, No filling, excavating, or placement of permanent structures or other impervious surfaces shall be allowed within a required 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. The applicant requests the construction of a pool, deck, and safety fence within the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. The applicant requests a 21.3-foot reduction of the setback to allow for a setback of 8.7 feet. Staff findings. A wetland setback compensation planting plan has been provided on the site plan dated August 18th, 2023, which provides equivalent square footage of compensation planting to the amount of encroachment.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Yes, good morning. My name is Patricia Ortiz. My address is 2810 North Central Avenue, Tampa, 33602, and I'm representing Esther Sapiro in this request. As Carla stated, we are requesting to reduce the 30-foot wide wetland setback to 8.7 feet, and that the purpose of that setback encroachment would be to add a pool and pool deck. The property is identified as an infill parcel on the zoning map. It's within the urban service area. It's designated RS Residential 4 on the future land use map and is zoned RSC4. Can you see this?
Not yet.
Okay. I'm not sure I have it turned the right way, so.
Okay. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so basically, I'm showing you this just to give you an idea of the location of the property. It's in the greater Carrollwood, Northdale planning area, very near the intersection of Hutchison Road and the Suncoast, the Suncoast Parkway, and it is most appropriate for residential development. The swimming pool will be an in-ground swimming pool. Let me see if I have a picture here. Okay, I apologize. I was hoping to get you a better graphic, but the blue rectangle kind of represents the location of the swimming pool and the pool deck, as well as the yellow dotted line represents the wetland setback area. So the setback we're asking for is 8.7 feet, and I'd just like to note that this line actually identifies the wetland. The home is located at 1.7 feet from the wetland setback, and that would be on the southwest corner. Maybe I could show you a different picture.
Oh, from the conservation setback.
Yeah. So looking at this survey here, you can see that the back corner of the home is 1.7 feet from the beginning of that wetland observation setback. So moving on. In regard to hardship, I would say that the subject property has an unusual shape. It has significantly less water frontage than the abutting properties. It's only 1.72 acres in size, while the abutting properties to the north and south, respectively, are 3.13 acres and 2.27 acres. 49% of the subject site is either wetland setback, or submerged land. The front building setback, it does exceed the district minimum, but that was necessary to continue the neighborhood aesthetic, and it allowed for preservation of mature trees, which add to the rustic character of the neighborhood. Also, these trees act like a buffer between Rye Lane, the homes on Rye Lane, and the interchange. And I have an aerial view where I could show you that a little bit better. Maybe. I think you can see that in this picture. Within this neighborhood, Rye Lane is, it's heavily treed, and those trees do act kind of to protect that residential character. You see here we have a large clumping of trees, then on the subject site, the trees were preserved, and then another clumping over to this side. Also, the area of wetland setback into which we're proposing to encroach doesn't contain any trees or large vegetation. It's largely grass. I'm not an expert on vegetation, but it looks like grass to me. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So this graphic is supposed to represent in blue the area of the pool, the wetland setback, and then the wetland. So it would be very hard for the naked eye to discern where the wetland begins, where the wetland setback is, and how the pool will encroach into that. Kind of going back and forth here, but my next point is that allowing this variance will not substantially interfere with the rights of others. While the pool is proposed to be located in the most sensible place for the home that it serves, it's also in the most logical place considering the neighbors. We could potentially put a swimming pool down in the corner here, but that would be really close to the pool that exists on the neighboring property. And that pool has been there for quite some time. I think it might interfere with some assumed rights of privacy associated with that adjacent home. Additionally, a swimming pool could be placed in the side yard, but that's not really the best option. The abutting house is 2 stories and setback only 15 feet from the shared property line. Locating the swimming pool over in this area I would assume would be a little bit disruptive and not really cohesive. The noise associated with swimming pools and the, kind of constant activity could interfere with the neighbor's rights of privacy and enjoyment of their property. So in regard to variance criteria number 4, I would say that this variance, as we're proposing it, is in harmony with and serves the general intent of the land development and comprehensive plan because it seeks the most minimal relaxation of the code necessary to allow for a very typical residential amenity. Thought has gone into the impacts of this swimming pool and what is most logical not only for the property owner but for abutting properties. And in regard to criteria number 5, this variance does not result from an illegal act where we realized the setback encroachment while we were in the permitting phase and then came through for variance. I do think that approval would result in substantial justice because the proposed location of the swimming pool is most appropriate for the property owner and the adjacent property owners. It's the most minimal variance we could ask for to allow for, a reasonable amenity. And with that, I can conclude my presentation and answer questions that you may have.
The only question I have is if you talk to those adjacent neighbors that are affected.
I haven't spoken to them directly. Most of the homes in the area are walled off. I drove by and I saw no cars in the driveway on this property. I walked the site, but no, one neighbor did reach out to me and I sent her the information she requested, the site plan. I think I also sent her the wetland cross section. I don't believe I had the compensation plan on that document, but I have not heard back from that woman either.
Was that as a result of the mail out for the
Yes.
adjacent property owners? That
Yes.
was it?
Mhm.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support of this application? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No one? All right. Development Services, anything else?
No, thank you.
All right. Ms. Ortiz, you have the last word.
Further, just thanks for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Then with that, we'll close variance 23-0751 and go to the next case.
Next item is item F2, variance 230754. The applicant is Keith and Rhonda Mall. The request is a variance to encroach into the wetland setback. Staff findings will be provided by Carla Shelton-Knight.
Good morning again.
Carla Shelton Knight with Development Services. The applicant is requesting a variance from the 50-foot wetland preservation area setback requirement, section 4.01.07B of the Land Development Code. The applicant's specific request, as shown on the site plan submitted on July 7th, 2023, is to allow for the after-the-fact construction of a lazy river within the 50-foot wetland preservation area setback. Per Land Development Code, section 4.01.07.B.4, no filling, excavating, or placement of permanent structures or other impervious surfaces shall be allowed within a required 50-foot wetland preservation area setback. The applicant requests after-the-fact construction of a lazy river within the 50-foot wetland preservation area setback. The applicant requests a 37-foot encroachment into the setback to allow for a remaining setback of 13 feet. Staff findings: a wetland setback compensation planting plan has been provided on the site plan dated August 9th, 2023, that provides equivalent square footage of compensation planting to the amount of encroachment.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning. Bryce Pinson with Half Associates here representing the applicant. They are actually here today as well. 1000 North Ashley Drive, Tampa, Florida. And I'm just gonna, I have a presentation. How do I get to it? Is that a slideshow? Thank you. Okay. So this is the location of the property, Dickman Island. This is a planned development for 2 single-family homes. So it is an after-the-fact variance, which I'll explain why in a second. But this is the survey that shows the wetland setback and then where the encroachment is. So back in 2020, the owners had contacted a pool company to help them with creating this pool with a lazy river so that their grandkids could play. You know, it was kind of a time where you weren't going anywhere else. So the pool company had contacted the county's building department and were told that they didn't need a permit. And so they had started construction, removed some invasive species, and then in 2022, they were notified that a permit is actually required, but they had already started construction. So now, basically, the owners are just trying to, you know, get the permit that they need and fix the, provide some compensation for the wetland area that was, you know, obstructed. It was just a miscommunication, misunderstanding. There was nothing that the owners had done knowingly to affect the wetlands. So we have a replanting plan here showing the proposed planting area. They are partnering with Living Shores Solution, which is helping them to mitigate the erosion, and this is showing some of their plans. So, I mean, that's basically it. And I'm here if you have any questions.
I just had a quick question about the encroachment. It only goes into the setback, not the actual wetland? Is that correct? Okay, that was it. That's the only question I had.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Don't forget to sign in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll go to anyone, ask for anyone that would like to speak in support, anyone in favor of this application, either in the room or online. Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No one. All right, Ms. Marshall, anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, Ms. Pinson, you have the last word if you'd like it. Okay, thank you so much. Then with that, we'll close variance 23-0754 and go to the next case.
This takes us to section G, sign variance requests. Item G1, variance 23-0760. The request is a variance to sign requirements. Staff findings will be provided by Sam Ball.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sam Ball of Development Services. The applicant is requesting a sign variance to accommodate a monument-style residential entry sign for the Windsor Park subdivision. According to LDC Section 70300C1C concerning minimum ground sign setbacks from the right-of-way, all monument signs shall be set back a minimum of 15 feet from the right-of-way line, but shall be permitted a height increase of 1 foot for each additional foot of setback provided from the right-of-way line up to a maximum height of 15 feet when next to a local road. The proposed monument sign is 7 feet 6 inches in height, which requires a 19-foot setback from the right-of-way line of the road. The applicant is requesting a 11-foot 3-inch reduction to the required setback to allow a setback of 7 feet 9 inches from both sides of Windsor Park Drive, and an 8-foot 3-inch reduction to the required setback to allow a setback of 10 feet and 9 feet from Chapman Road. The sign plans do not include the height of the raised planting bed, but the applicant has stated that the 7-foot 6-inch sign includes the height of the raised bed. That concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions?
No questions at this time. Thank you. Appreciate it. Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning. Louis Romano, 16605 Longleat Drive, Lutz, Florida, 33549. Here in applicant for Windsor Park Homeowners Association, looking to replace our front sign, which is currently deteriorating and needs to be replaced. It's currently built out of wood, which was built back in 1990 when the development was built. The sign is in need of replacement. Also, we are looking to remodel the sign to meet current design. The sign currently has, I don't have a picture, my apologies, of the current sign as is, but currently has some urns at the top of the pillars, as well as the rotting wood. I do have a picture of the sign that I can share. Just some design ideas that we were throwing around.
Oh, you can turn that over.
Sorry.
There you go. Perfect.
There we go. The current sign, as you can see, does include, as Sam was referring to, a 1 foot approximate flower bed that the sign is built upon. We're looking to reduce the setback. The proposed sign design has a height of 7 feet 6 inches. Therefore, a minimum setback of 19 feet is required from both sides of Windsor Park Drive and from Chapman Road. We're requesting an 11-foot 3-inch reduction to the required setback to allow a setback of 7 feet 9 inches from both sides of Windsor Park Drive, and an 8-foot 3-inch reduction to the required setback to allow a setback of 10 feet 9 inches from Chapman Road. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you so much. I don't have any questions at
Okay.
this time. Don't forget to sign in with the clerk's office, please.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? Ms. Marshall, anything else?
No, thank you.
All right. Sir, you have the last word if you'd like it. Nothing else. All right. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Then with that, we'll close variance 23-0760 and go to the next case.
This moves us into section H, variance request. Item H1, variance 23-0624. The applicant is Jeff Bessie, Harpro LLC. The request is a variance to lot development standards and variance to accessory structure requirements. Staff findings will be provided by Carol Ann Peddle.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning. Carol Ann Peddle, Development Services. This is for variance 23-0624.
Could you bring that microphone just a little bit closer?
Sorry
Perfect.
about that.
Thank you.
The applicant is requesting multiple variances for a proposed single-family home and accessory structure on a property zoned ASC1. Per LDC Section 60103F9, required front yards on lots accessed by easements shall be orientated with respect to the roadway to which the easement connects, as if the lot abuts the roadway. Access from North Dover Road to the subject property is provided through Shady Stream Drive, a 30-foot wide easement. Therefore, the required front yard is along the west property line parallel to North Dover Road. Per LD Section 61104C1, accessory structures shall not be erected in any required front yard except under certain circumstances that do not apply to this case. Accessory structures shall be permitted in front yards at twice the depth of the required yard or 50 feet, whichever is less. Such structures shall not occupy required side yards. The applicant requests a 7-foot setback from the west property line. Per LDC Section 6.1.1, a minimum rear yard setback of 50 feet is required in the ASC1 district. The applicant requests a 31.7-foot setback for the property line on the east. With that concludes my report, and I am available for any questions.
No questions at this time, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Jeff Bessie, Harper LLC. In regards to 14209 Shady Stream Drive, this is actually a personal home. With the lay of the land, I understand how today these houses probably should have faced all Dover Road, but when this was developed, they allowed these houses to face, there's two side streets. You got Shady Stream, and then there's an opposite side street. I'll get the name real quick. Sorry, I had it up. There it is. Elder Oaks Drive. So, and basically they allowed all those houses at the time to face those side streets to make that your front elevation and your front setback. So by utilizing Dover Road, then obviously they would have allowed my house to be able to be put where it was at, where we've just finished building the home. So this property is right behind 14203. The rear of their house faces this, is the back of this property, which is a fence between their property and that side property of our property at the house. And basically, we're trying to build a detached building there and that space to utilize that space for our needs. But because of the setbacks off of Dover Road, I think that's what's really kind of thrown the whole thing off. But it also is kind of, to me, would be more of grandfathered in from how all the other houses were elevated off of the two side streets whenever that was designed and built, from my research.
Is this one of the last lots to be developed?
This is it.
This is the last one?
Yeah.
All right.
We bought the last one. The rest of them were there, from however many years ago when that area got developed. It's only like 5 houses, so.
I see.
So basically, there's just one last little, decent piece of yard there that we want to utilize, for our home, and just trying to work together. But everything that we want to do, we want to mimic what the house looks like, and not just throw some metal shed up or something like that. We're trying to aesthetically, please and go with the development of what the house looks like also.
All right. I understand. That was my only question.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No
You could
problem.
Please sign in with the clerk's office. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one. Anyone in opposition to this request? No one. Ms. Marshall, anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, sir. Are you good? You have the last word if you'd like it.
Yeah, just what's the process for?
Oh, if you go back to the microphone, that's okay. And just ask your question again.
Just understanding what the process is for get the results out of how the meeting went today.
So the code requires that I file a decision within 15 working days
Okay.
following today's hearing, which would be what date? September 19th.
Okay.
So the result, my result will be filed on September 19th.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you
Appreciate
so much.
it.
I really appreciate your time. All right, then with that, we'll close variance 23-0624. Go to the next case.
Next item is item H2. Variance 230648. The applicant is David Wright. The request is a variance to lot development standards. Staff findings will be provided by Jared Fullen.
Good morning.
Hello, Jared Fallon with Development Services. Before we begin, I did miss the swearing in, so
Okay. If there is anyone else that would like to speak to this case or any case we have on the agenda and has not been sworn in, if you could please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yes, this is a variance request to allow for an alternative yard orientation for an ASC1 zone property that is accessed by a private easement. The applicant is requesting this variance in order to orient the proposed single-family home towards the west, which is currently the rear of the lot. Here is a vicinity map, aerial map. As you can see.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Let me just turn it over.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There we go. Yeah, just a vicinity map showing the surrounding uses. To the north and south is a single-family residential neighborhoods, and then to the west is a vacant lot, and then to the east is a large residential lot with the building towards the street there. As you can see, the lot accesses Cloud Avenue to the east. And per section 613F9, the yard orientation of lots accessed by easements is determined with respect to the roadway to which the private driveway or easement connects. The portion of the lot parallel to the nearest, or parallel and the nearest to the roadway shall constitute the required front yard, and the remaining yard shall be oriented accordingly. So currently the east is the front yard and the west is the rear yard with the side yards to the north and south. And then here, this is just a survey that shows the desired end. So they're wanting to put the front yard to the east, or sorry, to the west, and then the rear yard to the east.
Let me, before you move on, let me, if you don't mind, interrupt you. This is zoned ASC1, which as I recall, the front and the rear yard setbacks are the same. Is that correct? Isn't it 50 feet?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. So why, is there something like an accessory use or something that they want to put in the rear yard that they wouldn't be allowed in the front? Is that the reason for the variance?
The reason is so there's a code section that dictates that the house must be oriented, or like the front yard must be oriented to the front yard. So they want to orient the house to the west.
Okay, and is that consistent with, if you could go back to that aerial, there wasn't anything to the west of that, correct? It's all undeveloped?
No, it's currently undeveloped, yes.
All right. And just for my own information, what would be the reason for that, to orient it, the front towards the west?
I believe it's so they can put their front door towards the west side.
Okay, but bigger than that, the question, is there some reason that are other homes along there oriented towards the west?
No, I do not believe so. There's another lot farther west that has the house in the middle of the lot, and then the house to the east is towards the road, Cloud Avenue.
All right. So at the end of the day, though, they would meet, if either way, they would meet the 50-foot setback, front and rear, correct?
Yes.
It's just a yard orientation question.
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
I understood. Go ahead. Thank you.
That concludes my presentation.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Is the applicant here?
Good morning, Madam Hearing Officer. My name is David Wright, President of TSP Companies. Address is P.O. Box 273417, Tampa, Florida 33688. And I can answer your question that you were just asking.
Thank you.
As already presented, this is one of three properties that is accessed via an easement from St. Cloud Road. This is the one that's closest to St. Cloud. It's approximately 652 feet off of the roadway. And the request is simply to change the lot orientation from the rear to the front. The adjacent property owner to the west is the brother-in-law and sister of the property owner of the subject property. And they're seeking to have both of their houses face each other. So the one to the west would still have the lot orientation as dictated by the Land Development Code, and the subject property, they want to face that property. I do have a letter in the record from the property owner to the west supporting this variance. I also spoke with the property owner to the east, Ms. Donna Jarina, and explained to her what was the purpose of this variance. She acknowledged that they have trees and accessory structures in the back of her property adjacent to this lot, and that she did not oppose this variance whatsoever. I also spoke to the president of the HOAs of the property, the subdivisions to the north and south, and both of them expressed support for this variance. So with that, that concludes my presentation, unless you have other questions.
No, those were my questions. Thank you for that clarification. I really appreciate it. All right, is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No one. Ms. Marshall, nothing?
Nothing further.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Wright, you have the last word if you'd like it.
I'm good, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Then we'll close variance 23-0648 and go to the next case.
Next item is item H3, variance 230681. The applicant is Costco Wholesale Corporation. The request is a variance to sidewalk requirements. Staff findings will be provided virtually by Richard Perez.
Good morning.
Richard, are you there?
Well, perhaps Mr. Perez, are you online?
I see Mr. Perez's video. Oh, there he is. Can you hear us? We are not getting your audio, sir. If you click down where the mute button is on that little down arrow and go to audio settings.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Apologize for the technical difficulties.
We just need you to, your audio is very low, sir.
Okay, can you hear me?
It's still very low if you go to those settings.
Adjusting my settings. Can you hear me now?
Much better. How's it on the floor? Madam Chair, can you hear Mr. Perez on the floor?
Mr. Perez, if you could just give me your name so I can test the sound.
Yes, this is Richard Perez, Development Services. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, apologize for that inconvenience. The applicant is requesting a variance to waive the required sidewalk connections to the project's northeast side arrival point on Causeway Boulevard, west of Providence Lake Boulevard, and internal to the project site associated with the site construction plan review, project 5777. The subject site is located at 10921 Causeway Boulevard within the Brandon Community Plan area and is zoned planned development and designated regional mixed use 35 and urban mixed use 20. The request for variance applies to a certain portion of the sidewalk along the project site arrival point at Causeway Boulevard, an internal sidewalk within the property as shown in the site plan submitted by the applicant. The County Land Development Code section 60302A, B, C, G, and H require a 5-foot sidewalk along the northeast project frontage. Furthermore, Section 60302A, B, G, and H require a 5-foot sidewalk to connect primary building entrances and the parking for the on-site uses, and the required sidewalk along the site arrival point at the project's northeast frontage. If the waiver is granted, the developer would not be required to construct a frontage sidewalk connecting to the site arrival point at Causeway Boulevard, and would not be required to construct certain internal sidewalks for development associated with the site construction review plan. Staff evaluated the applicant's submitted variance criteria responses, did not find any of the 6 criteria were addressed as documented in the staff report on record. Furthermore, staff finds that there is no information in the record indicating how a waiver of the required sidewalks would facilitate and accommodate safe pedestrian circulation, and where necessary, meet ADA Florida Accessibility Code requirements between the external arrival point and the uses on site. With that, I'll conclude my presentation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning. Chance Davies, Thomas Engineering Group. Address 1301 South Albany, Tampa, Florida, 33606. Here representing Costco Wholesale Corporation. And client is here. The applicant is here as well. Let's see, the project proposes originally to expand the gas station to provide additional pumps. And brief history of the site, back in 2021, Costco did a national overhaul of their existing stores' ADA areas, and they provided a right-of-way sidewalk connection to the South Providence Lakes Boulevard. And they evaluated that was the most efficient and safest route for pedestrians throughout the site. This is an existing Costco site. The gas station does not have any convenience store attached to it, so it does not have any pedestrian traffic. And so the expansion that we're proposing would not increase any pedestrian traffic on site. During our pre-application meeting with the county, we were told we needed to provide the sidewalk connection to the east right-of-way. And in doing so, we would have to, I guess, rehaul a section of the Costco site to make a sidewalk connection available. And while doing that, it would also send pedestrians through heavy trafficated areas. And also the sidewalk connection extends north of the property boundary, and there is a retention area that would have to be modified. That retention area is a public retention area, and doing so, currently there is a very steep slope at the access road. So a sidewalk would not be able to fit there as it currently sits, so we would have to redesign that retention area. Let's see. And
Well, let me ask you a question,
Yes.
if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
The site plan you have up, and it shows the proposed crosswalk and the ADA connection and so forth to Causeway. Is that existing? Is that what you put in 2021, you said?
That is not existing. The existing crosswalk runs throughout here, throughout the site, to the front door.
Okay, so what's labeled proposed is what the county is asking you to do?
Correct.
All right.
And that is currently just all parking area, and there's no current room for a sidewalk there. We would have to redo the parking, paving, relocation of trees, and so forth.
And this issue is generated by the proposed gas pumps?
Correct.
That area?
Which would not add any additional pedestrian traffic, and in communication with the local Costco manager, there is no known foot traffic to the east right-of-way. So we see no need to add this pedestrian connection.
When was the store built? Approximately.
Somewhere in 90s? 1999,
Okay.
sorry.
So the store was built in 99. All right. I believe that's the end of my questions. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Excuse me, Madam Hearing Officer?
Yes.
It appears that the authorized representative is a different person than our current speaker. Could someone from Costco just verify that the gentleman at the podium is authorized to speak on their behalf?
If you could come forward, you need to be on the record. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you? My name is
Good.
John Alvarado. I'm with Costco Real Estate. And Thomas Engineers, basically, he's our engineer in North Florida, so yeah, they're, and for the record, our address is 49, oh, I always forget, 45940 Horseshoe Drive, Sterling, Virginia.
All right, thank you. Does that satisfy the requirement?
Yes, Madam Hearing Officer.
Okay, thank you so much. Sir, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
That is it for me.
All right, thank you so much. And if you could sign in with the clerk's office, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? Seeing no one. Mr. Perez, if you could come back, I have a question.
Yes.
The gentleman said the original store was built in '99, and it presumes that those sidewalk requirements were not in place at the time. Is that correct?
In 1999, there would be land development codes that are no longer reflective of what's required in our standards today.
So these sidewalk standards came into play approximately when? Into the code?
I do not have the exact date that the code, the most recent code would be, have been updated, but we are interpreting the code as it's applied today for this particular action to expand the cost code.
And the your audio is getting quieter as you speak. I don't know if there's something going on, but last question is, so you heard me ask the gentleman that this is all triggered by the construction of the gas station accessory to the Costco. And so is that the practice of, that is the requirement of land development code? So if something new is added to a site, then code compliance, whether it's sidewalks or retention or some other improvement, have to be brought up to code. Is that correct?
That is correct. The current improvement to the Costco site is triggering the sidewalk standards to be applied.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's all I had. Thank you. All right. We asked for opponents and proponents. No one answered. Ms. Marshall, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
All right, sir. Do you have anything you'd like to say in rebuttal before we go?
Can I say something?
Yes, just give us your name again for the record.
John Alvarado with Costco Wholesale. The base of the project is just extend the gas. Right now we have long lanes and we having traffic issues on site. So in addition to adding this sidewalk, basically it's gonna put a little pressure on the warehouse as busy as it is right now. So I just want you to consider that on your decision.
Well, that begs the question then, do you lose parking spaces with the addition of the internal sidewalk?
Do we lose parking spaces? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, we lose some on the arrangement for the sidewalk, and also the drive aisles that we have right now, they're gonna get reduced a little bit to give space for the sidewalk.
But, and so, you know, understandably that the requirement is based on a safety consideration. Yes. And so that is the reason for the county requiring it. So how is that condition not improved by not having the sidewalk? In other words, you have, it's an existing condition, correct? That yes. You don't meet the requirement?
I mean, to the north side, right? We already meet the requirements when we did our ADA, and we already have that pedestrian connection to the right of way to the south. And as we say, like 90% of our members get to the warehouse by car. I mean, it's really a minimum amount of people that goes, by walking. And also that's what we choose when we did the ADA, that direction, because we have the residences at that area. And that's where we see our members coming and walking. So that's the reasoning on it.
I see. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very
much.
Appreciate
it. All right, then with that, we'll close variance 23-0681 and go to the next case.
Next item is item H4, variance 230752. The applicant is David Wright, TSP Companies Incorporated. The request is a variance to easement width requirements. Staff findings will be provided by Isis Brown.
Good morning.
Good morning, Isis Brown, Hillsborough County Development Services. This is variance 23-0752. The applicant is requesting variances to memorialize use of an existing easement for an access to 2 lots zoned ASC1. Per LEC section 6.02.01B 5.C.2, a minimum easement of 30 feet is required to serve 2 or 3 dwelling units. The applicant requests a 10-foot variance to the required easement width to allow for an easement of 20 feet to serve the 2 dwelling units. Staff findings, folio 8193.01100 was created from a parent parcel in April of 1989 and is listed in the staff report on book 5690, page 670. The subject easement has existed since June of 1992. Per the book 6682, page 1792, predating the LDC requirements for the easements to be platted per LDC section 6.02.01A, which became effective in 1994, March 10th. This is my report. I'm available for any questions.
I just want to make sure I understand. So that easement existed to serve the 2 lots prior to the change in the land development code, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you so much, I appreciate it. Is the applicant here?
He's online, Mr. Wright.
Good morning again. David
Good morning.
Wright, President of PSP Companies, P.O. Box 273-417, Tampa, Florida 33688. Before I begin, the property owner took the time to come down to the hearing in person, so I would just like for him to stand to be recognized.
Sir, would you like to say anything?
On this for me, I just thought I'd be here.
Just give us your name and address, just for the
Steve
record.
Smith, 4208 Thenotis House Road, Plant
Thank you
City.
so much. Mr. Wright will do the presentation,
Okay,
correct?
thanks.
All right, thank you so much. Sir, if you could sign in with the clerk's office. Mr. Wright, go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Brown and you clarified really what we're seeking in this variance. The lot and the easement were both created prior to the adoption of the current subdivision regulations, which require an easement to be 30 feet wide if it serves 2 or more lots. This easement exists as a 20-foot wide easement, and we're requesting a variance to allow it to continue as it is. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No, Ms. Marshall, anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, Mr. Wright, last word if you'd
No,
like
thank-
it.
No, thank you.
All right, thank you, I appreciate it. We'll close variance 23-0752 and go to the next case.
Next case is item H5, variance 230753. The applicant is the Porchlight Foundation Incorporated. The request is a variance to lot development standards. Staff findings will be provided by Carol Ann Peddle.
Morning.
Good morning, Carolyn Peddle, Development Services.
Just bring that towards you just a little bit. There you go.
This is for variance 230753. The applicant requests a variance to the side yard setbacks on a property zoned RMC 20. A 16-foot side yard setback is required for the proposed 23-foot tall multifamily structure. Per LDC section 60101, a minimum side yard setback of 10 feet is required for the RMC 20 district. Per LDC section 60101 Ed Note 8, structures with a permitted height greater than 20 feet shall be set back an additional 2 feet for every 1 foot of structure height over 20 feet. The additional setback should be added to the setbacks or buffers which function as required rear and side yard as established in the Schedule of Area, Height, Bulk, and Placement Regulations. The applicant requests a variance of 6 feet to allow for a 10-foot setback from the western property line. That concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
No questions at this time, but thank
Thank
you.
you.
Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Hi, I'm Hannah French with the Porchlight Foundation, 1211 Northwest Shore Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33607, and I'm delegating Mr. Jim Porter as our agent.
Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer and staff. I'm Jim Porter with Ackerman, 401 East Jackson Street in Tampa. I'm representing Porchlight today. I want to orient you to the property and tell you a little bit about Porchlight. Porchlight is a not-for-profit organization that provides low-income housing for very low-income residents. They're trying to develop an 8-unit apartment complex, generally at the area of East 122nd Avenue and North 59th Street. So let me show you sort of what we're talking about. Subject parcel is outlined in red. It's RMC 20. You can see this undeveloped right now, and you can see there's a scattering of development around the property. Let me show you the site plan. So the 8-unit apartment complex is going to look similar to this. So as staff said, the LDC for this zoning category requires a 10-foot side yard setback, which we are able to meet. But it also, in note 8 of 601.01, requires that for every additional foot of height, there's an additional 2 feet of setback. So in this case, the height of the building, it's a 2-story building, is going to be 23 feet, which means there needs to be an additional 6 feet of setback, which we are asking to be varied. So this is the area here that you can see. I want to show you, this is a significant, I'm going to provide these to you, Mrs. Finch, too, so you can have them. The area in question is here. It's heavily wooded, and that is going to remain. And only 10 feet of this whole area is going to be the subject of the variance. So this is the area right here that we seek the 6-foot variance. The rest of it would be able to be met. So it's a very small, minimal area. Back to this one, you can see the subject site in the area of the variance abuts a parking lot. And so given that the unique characteristics of this property, it's a corner lot, there are 25-foot setbacks required on the other areas. It's a heavily wooded area, and we're abutting a parking lot. So the impact to the neighbors would be minimal. This is a very small variance request. It would be not noticeable to the general public. It furthers the comprehensive plan provisions and just a general feeling that affordable housing is a much needed commodity in the district right now. The applicant provided a very detailed list of the reasons and justifications for the variance, and I'll just supplement those a little bit, but those are in your record and we stand by those. I would just add, because it is a very minimal variance, it's a result of the additional height, and it's not going to really have an impact on anyone. The core setback of 10 feet is being met, so the whole spirit of the LDC is being met, and the building's only going to be 3 feet taller. And so the 6 feet is something that we're not able to meet, but will not be an impact on the area. There are no code enforcement violations associated with this. It's a vacant piece of property. We're happy to answer any questions. Ms. French is here to answer any specific questions for you, but we'll provide these into the record and respectfully ask for your approval.
Just one quick question. Excuse me, the parking lot on the aerial you showed, the proposed building fronting the parking lot, and then there was a building on the other side. What is that?
That's also a small apartment complex. I don't know how many units it are, but it's.
And is it oriented to the street? What would that be? 56th Street, I believe? It's oriented that way?
Do you know? It is oriented towards 56th Street.
All right, so that's the rear of their property.
It's the rear of their property, yes.
I see. All right, that was my only question. Thank you so much.
Okay,
if
thanks.
you could please sign in with the clerk's office. All right, is there anyone to speak in favor of this? Anyone in support that would like to testify? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? All right, Ms. Marshall, anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, Mr. Porter, you have the last word.
Thank you, nothing further.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Then with that, we'll close variance 23-0753 and go to the next case.
The next item is item.
It's pertaining to the hurricane, yes. All right.
Sorry about that. Next item is item H6, variance 23-0786. The applicant is Stephen Gilder. The request is a variance to lot development standards, and I'll present the staff findings. The applicant's requesting a setback variance for a proposed covered patio on property zoned PD 95-1539. Per PD condition 3.2, the required rear yard setback for villas, duplexes, and townhomes shall be 10 feet. Per LDC section 60103 I4, covered patios may intrude no more than 13 feet into the required rear yard, except that in no case shall be provided a setback less than 10 feet. The applicant requests a 6.1 foot reduction to the required rear yard setback to allow a setback of 3.9 feet from the southwest property line for the covered patio. Happy to answer any questions.
None at this time, but thank you. All right, we're going to try to make it through with our phones. If everybody could just silence that, I'd appreciate it. All right, is the applicant here? Is the applicant here for variance 23-0786?
Yes, I am here.
Online. Okay. Good morning. Oh my gosh. Now it's me. Sorry.
Here, it looks like I'm on here.
Sir, I can hear you if you want to give us your name and address.
Stephen Gildart, 538.
Oh, your audio seems to be cutting in and out. Try again for us.
Yes, my name is Stephen Gildart. Court.
But why is he, like, what is he doing?
This one over here.
Sir, you have 2 instances opened. I'm gonna mute you on 1. So go ahead and speak to me, please.
Just a second.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Go ahead, Mr. Gilder, and just give us your name and address again, and please start over.
Stephen Gildart, 8538 Acorn Ridge Court, Tampa, Florida, 33625.
All right, if you could just tell us about the reason for your request.
Okay, I submitted all paperwork, which indicates it's my reason for my request, and I have only one thing to add, and that is that in our neighborhood, approximately 8 property owners have had this variance approved for their screened-in porches.
All right, thank you. Did you have anything else you wanted to add before I move on?
I do not.
All right, I think that was a no.
No.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No, Ms. Marshall?
Nothing further.
All right, Mr. Gilder, is there anything you want to add before we close the case? All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We'll close variance 23-0786 and go to the next case.
This brings us to section I, special uses. The next item is I1, special use 221657. The applicant is Todd Seamy. The request is a special use for a school. Staff findings will be provided by Israel Monsanto after presentation by the applicant, followed by Planning Commission staff findings provided virtually by Jillian Massey.
All right, is the applicant here? Good morning.
Is Israel speaking?
You go first. Okay. The special use is the applicant goes first.
Thank you, Your Honor. Todd Seamy, P.O. Box 191, Gibsonton, Florida, 33534, representing the Universal Academy of Florida. I have Jamal with me, my engineer, and some others who have been sworn in to speak in favor. 1 second.
Thank you.
If you can see, here. And I'd like to, Dr. Forward, bring your people up forward. All of you come up here and support. I'm going to try and be brief as I can. I have a few people who will break up the time, and I'll be brief here. But our existing school has been in existence for 30 years right here, okay? So the academy is here, and what we're proposing is this addition right here, which is going to be the inset, is going to be the garage for staff and faculty parking, and then the second floor is going to be library and classroom on the third floor. So this 18,000 square foot is going to be this inset when you pull in here in the garage. Again, I understand staff has, and we had an EPC issue. I've been permitting and doing business with Hillsborough County since 1986, and because Israel had mentioned that we may have EPC, we had it flagged, and you'll see that we have a 30-foot setback to that, and so that our footer will not encroach into the 30-foot wetland setback. And then we have our spacing over here between our existing gym and our proposed building. I wanted to indicate that I know that transportation and their staff report has concerns about our interior parking and our layout and things like that, and I'll let Israel address that. But I just wanted you to know, Your Honor, that again, I'll address those, and I have Jamal Nagamia, the PE, here also to address that, and a few people to say a few words. But again, all we're asking for is for our existing school that's been in operation for 30 years to be able to put our building, which we know we have to go through site review and building review to get a permit. And at this time, we had to continue. I've never had to continue this long because the surveyors had to go out there and get EPC and make sure we were 30 feet from that wetland setback. And I'll ask for staff report or ask any questions that you may have, and we'll come back to it and ask for those that are in favor to support.
Mr. Simi, let me ask you a couple questions.
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
As you point out, the crux of this is transportation in terms of the objections that have been raised by
Yes, ma'am.
all of the staffs. They seem to all stem back to transportation questions that were unanswered. And in my mind, they're not minor questions. They're fire truck turnaround, internal circulation, questions about ADA compliant sidewalks and things that are very important in terms of life and safety issues.
Yes, ma'am.
And so those questions went unanswered, which is the reason for, in my mind, in my reading of the backup, they went unanswered until it was too late for the county to review them and file their staff report in a timely manner. Mr. Monsanto can certainly weigh in on this as well. But I just wanted to get your take on it as to what happened. As I read, this case was filed back in February, it seems. So it's been going on a long time. And as I understand it, this is the last opportunity for a hearing, correct?
You are correct.
So give me your take on what happened.
Well, Your Honor, as I stated, I've been doing this since 1986, and so, coming before the board, and I've put over $100 million of my money in Hillsborough County coffers. So I'm a professional, I'm an expert. So in asking what happened here is that when we filed, okay, then Israel came with, EPC, okay, and get EPC handled. Now getting the survey going from there. And then once we had EPC, the survey done, the wetland EPC, Dessa Clock had to give her approval on that and our building footprint. Then we come in back into the county and we go through transportation. And so this is the first time that I've had, you have to understand, I've had interior, comments by transportation. And I bring this up to bring to your attention, Your Honor, that the school is well versed in getting approval. Okay, and this right here, you'll see the Hillsborough County Glenn Schottmeyer has approved the gymnasium with the transportation approval. Okay, and so this is what happens once, God willing, you give us a favorable approval and say, Mr. Simi, here are the conditions that transportation has imposed, and I'm going to let you go forward, but letting you know and letting the school know that you must comply and get the transportation approval, which you did here in 2016. So it's really a time factor in getting the engineering back to the county and getting all that addressed. But yes,
So
Bill.
is your point in showing that agency comment from 2016 that there were no transportation impacts at that time based on that expansion?
No, my point in showing this 2016 approval right here is to let you know that the school knows that they must comply with the LDC, and the only way you're going to comply is get one of these approval sheets from, transportation, zoning, and all the other agencies. So we're just saying, because of the EPC, because of the time crunch, we're asking you to, work with us to move forward with the existing school, because we've turned out some of the greatest civil engineers and biotechnical students in Hillsborough County. But go ahead.
That was my question at the moment.
Yeah.
Thank you. Did you have anybody else that wanted to speak? You have about 11 minutes left.
Okay, I'll have Jamal Nagamia go.
My name is Jamal Nagamia, 11104 North 61st Street, Temple Terrace. I am the engineer of record for the project. And in 2016, the same size building was for the gym was approved by the transportation, and that is what Todd is referring to, and I have a copy of that approval I'd like to introduce
Absolutely.
for you. Also, these are, I might add, that many of the comments are related to site approval process, not an application for a special use. In one of the comments that staff had, they said this Sly Avenue and Orient Road are substandard roads. I'd like to point out that these are, the county just improved these roads within the past 4 to 5 months. And I'm showing you or introducing the pictures of the roads in front of the school. As you can see from the pictures, the roads are brand new. They have added lanes. The signal has been improved. And I don't know if the left hand knows what the right hand is doing, because that is what the staff comment was. And I would appreciate that we are not adding any students. So there is no impact on the number of trips. As far as the other things are concerned, ADA sidewalk, that will be done during the site planning process. Do you have any questions?
I don't at this time, but I appreciate your testimony. If you could
Okay.
please sign in with the clerk's office.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Simi, does that conclude? Oh, you have another person, sure.
Can you say your name and address?
Sir, if you could sign in with the clerk's office, please. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Dawood Sayed. I'm one of the board members for the school.
Address.
So my address is 20663 Longleaf Pine Avenue, Tampa, Florida 33647. So I'm in support of the school, and coincidentally, basically the school has started on the same month, same day, 31 years ago, and it has produced many professionals. And one of the, 3 of my kids, they are in professional schools. The school is continuing to produce so many professionals and then good citizens. I support for this project to improve further the quality of the students and the school.
Let me, before you leave, as one of the board members, let me ask you this on the record. So the special use that's in place right now for the existing school has a condition that there are a maximum of 400 students at the school. Transportation, in their comments, pointed out that the website for the school shows or an enrollment of 800 students. Can you verify the number of students? Because in this request, this is why I ask, in this request it says there's no increase in the number of students. So can you verify the enrollment for me?
She wants you to verify the enrollment, but just tell them there are 400, but there are 400 students at this time, to your knowledge, and that they rotate, they graduate, and they move forward. I think what the doctor is saying is that there are 400 but they graduate and they move forward. So I don't know the exact number of enrollment at this time, but we're not enrolling in additional students from what we're at right now.
All right, thank you so much.
Go ahead and sign it.
Mr. Simi, anybody else that would like to speak as part of your presentation?
Like to say something?
About 7 minutes left.
Anybody? One more.
Sure.
Thank you. Your name and address.
Adil Kareem. The address is 32631 Tree of Life, Wesley Chapel, Florida, 33543. I'm a parent. My kids are in 11th grade and 7th grade that go there. Last year's graduating class, I am aware, was about 33 or 35. They contributed 3,500 volunteer hours to the community. That includes street cleanup, soup kitchens, that includes giving back volunteer hours. 100% of the graduating class went to college as well. It's a good school, ranked 3 by NEST in STEM engineering. And I think I support this. I'm sure I support this and would like to speak to that effect. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time and coming down. I appreciate it. You could please sign in.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll ask any. Say your
Morning.
name and address.
Hi, I'm Iman, the principal at Universal Academy of Florida. I'm here to support this, obviously. And my address, my home address or the school address?
Whatever you'd like to give.
6801 Orient Road, Tampa, Florida. I just wanted to let you know that the board and we discussed about the expansion of the school, and we agreed that we're not adding any more students until we do have that expansion that we're talking about, because we ran out of space. We don't have space for them to, for the extracurriculars, but we don't have space, any more space for the classrooms, and therefore we are not increasing enrollment. So I just wanted to let you know.
And can you verify what that enrollment is?
The current enrollment,
Yes.
we have over 800 students.
All right, thank you so
Yes,
much.
you're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. Mr. Simi, does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, ma'am. A couple minutes for rebuttal if I need.
Absolutely, at the end, sure. All right, we'll go to Development Services. Good morning.
Good morning. Israel Monsanto Development Services. The parcel is 10.6 acres and is currently operating as a pre-K through 12th grade private school, which is the Universal Academy in Florida. The address is 6801 North Orient Road in Tampa. And the zoning is ASC 1, agricultural single family conventional. The school has a current special use approval under 15-0768. It is allowed for up to 400 students, divided and spread across the divisions of elementary, middle, and high school. The latest construction plan approval for this school was received on September 2017, and that's the project ID 3553, which we have a copy in the record. The site contains classrooms, ball field, a gymnasium. This new special use request is for the addition of a 3-story building housing a garage, additional classrooms, and a library. The total building space for all the site will be approximately 130,000 square feet. And as the applicant has stated, and the request, there is no increase in the number of students. The applicant has requested a reduction from the original approved buffer along the south from 20 to 10 feet, but that's only along area of the 2-story building labeled Building G, where there is an existing staircase and mechanical equipment. The currently approved Type B screening will be maintained. A 10-foot landscape buffer Type A along the property lines is required between institutional uses and single-family residential uses per the Land Development Code. Therefore, staff is not objecting to this particular request of this petition. The case was postponed, as the applicant has stated, several months due to a wetland area present on the site that was not delineated. So as you can see, the old 2015 special use had a wetland label somewhere, but we didn't know exactly what it was. The applicant reached out to the APC. Then months later, they came back with a more detailed plan where they show the wetland location. After that, the applicant started working on a more detailed plan to show the exact location of the building footprint, so we know for sure that they didn't need additional wetland setbacks or why not. When that site plan came back, since it was more detailed, we discovered certain discrepancies between what was there and the old special use plan. Transportation noted that, and that's when communication between transportation and the applicant started, just to clarify what was shown on those more detailed plans in comparison with not only the special use plan, but also the construction plans approval, which are consistent with the 2015 special use approval. So there is a 30-foot wetland setback that will need to be maintained on the east side of the proposed buildings, and the applicant has been advised that building footers cannot encroach into the 30-foot wetland setback. The final location of the buildings would be reviewed anyways during the site development review process. And again, transportation staff has reviewed the application and objects to this request. Transportation staff report indicates that the application was notified at the beginning of July of a series of questions and comments regarding this project. Staff didn't receive a formal response or revised narrative or plans. And when we were filing the report, we had not seen that any additional information until last Friday, the Friday of the 18th, and when the applicant submitted updated plans and responses to the comments. Staff shared conditions of approval prior to when we received the comments from transportation, and I believe that the applicant will submit those on the record. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
I do. I just want to verify for the record. So your objection is based on transportation's objection primarily. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
Yes, understanding that the school is approved for no more than 400 students, and that they have to address those comments and questions from transportation.
And the change when let me just follow up with one thing you said. So the wetland drove a more detailed plan, correct?
Correct.
And when that more detailed plan came in, there were discrepancies between that and what was the approved plan, is that correct? But outside of the proposed building, of
yes,
course.
so the wetland plan showed improvements on the site that were not shown on the special use from 2015, and also in the special use plan that they were being utilizing for this request as well.
And what's the nature of those improvements? Are they structures?
I believe transportation can have that more specifics, but there is a parking lot right in front of the gym building, I believe, that was approved just for that use, and they were not allowed to have internal cross-access between that parking lot and the school side, because that will trigger additional internal traffic analysis and so on. So that's one. That's the main one, and site access, I think it should be that it's not an issue, but I think transportation has more information for that.
All right, we'll call on them. Thank you so much for that clarification. I appreciate it. All right, at this point, let's talk to someone from transportation. I don't know if I know Mr. Perez was available, if Mr. Ratliff is around.
Yes, hi, John, for the record, James Ratliff, Transportation Review Section.
Good morning.
And I reviewed this case. Good morning. Did you want me to speak to that?
Yes, sorry. Yes, if you could, before we go to the Planning Commission, if you could just, I've read your comments, but go over just briefly the interaction with the applicant and your request for information and the response.
Sure. So regarding the interaction with the applicant, we sent, as detailed in the staff report, we had sent an email on July 12th with a series of questions. We did have a follow-up call, and we understand that zoning staff had been in contact with them via telephone, but we never received any formal, written responses, revised narrative, site plans by the deadline that we, needed to review those things in order to, take those into consideration. I think another thing that we heard here tonight was testimony that there are more students that are operating per the amount that is currently approved under a special use. And so again, you know, the application is stating that we're not changing the number of students, but I'm hearing that the site is operating with more students than it's authorized to add for. And again, those other questions that we had asked about the changes to the site that have been made apparently without construction plan approval and that are in violation of the existing special use. These are all things that we need to look at in a lot more detail in order to really understand, well, you know, what is truly changing from the 2015 approval, or because it's not a modification process similar to the PD, but we still need to understand, okay, what is being proposed today, and then regardless of whether there's an increase or not an increase, even changes to circulation require additional study that need to be addressed. And for example, with regard to the substandard road issue, the county would make improvements to roads given the existing right-of-way that we have available. That doesn't mean that when the county makes an improvement to a road, we bring it up to the full standard. Of course, that's something that has to be looked at because the property owner who controls the frontage would be able to potentially make additional improvements to bring a road up to standards. Or again, they may not be required to make any additional improvements. That's something that happens as a part of the special use process, or excuse me, the substandard road process through the administrative variance or design exception process. And current procedures require that those get reviewed concurrently with the zoning or special use approval. We don't defer those to site. Essentially that is where we're at with this case. And how we reviewed the site.
All right, thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right, now we'll go to the Planning Commission.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Officer. This is Jillian Massey with your Planning Commission staff. The subject site is located in the Community Mixed Use 12 Future Land Use category. It's in the urban service area and within the limits of the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan. The site's located adjacent to single-family residential developments and other public institutional uses, including a high school and a church. The proposed school addition would be compatible and complementary to the surrounding development pattern. However, according to Future Land Use Element Objective 9 and Policy 9.2, all development proposals must meet or exceed all local, state, and federal land development regulations. And at the time of uploading this particular report that we wrote, county transportation staff has objected to the proposal and filed comments into optics on August 12th, 2023. The comments summarize that no administrative variance or design exception requests had been received, and that there's outstanding information that is needed to determine land development code requirements are being met as it relates to traffic, access, parking, circulation, sidewalk connections, and substandard roadway improvements. And although the proposed use may be compatible with the surrounding land uses, the Future Land Use Element Policy 1.4 states that other elements that affect compatibility are pedestrian or vehicular traffic, circulation, access, and parking impacts, and therefore the proposal is inconsistent with the intent of those policies. Furthermore, Future Land Use Element Objective 16 and associated policies that relate to community development and neighborhood protection talk about gradual transitions to complementary surrounding uses. Policy 16.3 states that the development and redevelopment shall be integrated with the adjacent land uses through transportation and pedestrian connections. And the proposed site plan does not indicate how the proposed building will be accessed via pedestrian and or vehicle. And in addition, as previously mentioned, the county transportation staff has objected due to the lack of information necessary to evaluate accessibility. Therefore, Planning Commission staff determined that the proposal is inconsistent with the intent of policy 16.3. Although the use of the proposed addition is a residential support use and can be considered in this future land use category, policy 17.1 states that the facility shall be of a design, intensity, and scale to serve the surrounding neighborhood or non-residential development in which it occurs. And without the necessary information to evaluate whether the site design is compatible with the rest of the school campus and surrounding uses, the proposal is inconsistent with the policy direction. And based on these considerations, Planning Commission staff has found that the proposed special use is inconsistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And that concludes my testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, at this point, we'll call for anyone that would like to speak in support. Anyone that testify in support, either in the room or online. How many do you have to speak? Three people total. All right. Do we have anyone online that would like to speak in support? I don't think so. Okay. So, Joe, if you could give us 5 minutes apiece, we'll divide that 15 minutes evenly. Go ahead. Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Jamal Nagamia, and I have already given my address. The sidewalks are existing on both sides of the road, both on Sly and Orient. They were talking about access, pedestrian access. This is a school, and we have to be very careful that nobody off the street walks into the school and shoots students. And that is why access is limited. That is what something that the staff does not understand. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Isan Mamoun, 9907 Sorbonne Loop, Sefner 33584. I'm a board member. I have 4 kids in the school. The school is gradually increasing in activities and involvement. We do have a long waiting list. We cannot really allow for more people to come in, kids to come in. But what's happening in school, all these kids are excelling in their academics, so we need to have a library for them, computer labs, whatever, that a new facility will help them in their education. That's my, asking for support for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please. Good morning.
Yes, my name is Pilar Saad, 4518 Sweetwater Lake Drive, Tampa, Florida 33613. And I was a former teacher at this wonderful school. It's amazing, for 18 years, and now I'm on the board. And I am in full support, and I'm sure that the officials working in the board will all, coordinate with the county in trying to meet the needs of the school, because, we have 400 people, 400 students on our waiting list. We need more space for our students, and, they really are excelling. I can attest to that. And actually, so I want you to look at it as if it is a private school, but it's really promoting a great public service, because not only because of all the volunteer hours and, our students are such good citizens, but also because so many of our students, they graduate as doctors, dentists, lawyers, engineers. So they're really providing a lot of good for the community. So we just hope that you will work with us and try to get this approved. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming down. If you could please sign in.
Oh, yes.
Anyone else?
That'll be all.
Okay. And now we'll close that portion and ask for anyone in opposition. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Seeing no one. All right. Ms. Marshall, anything else you want to add?
No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Monsanto? Yes, sir.
Just one, Israel Monsanto Development Services just wants to confirm and ask the applicant if they have hard copies of conditions that they will submit for the record.
Mr. Simi, then we'll go to the rebuttal period. You have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. I just wanted to, we got the comments from, I hear Mr. Ratliff over here, and I understand here, we resubmitted on the 18th because we had the July comments and we had to have the engineering do that. I'll submit this for the record, but we didn't have time to go back and forth with answering all the questions. But we did do a response letter and upload it to optics, okay, about transportation's questions. So again, Your Honor, what I'm saying is this school has been in existence for 30 years. We understand at the last, and I've never had this happen since 1986, where transportation, or an agency has something, and I'm saying to you, I understand that. I'm asking you to attach the staff report or the transportation concerns and say, I'm approving this, but the school knows and Mr. Simi knows that in site review they must deal with this. This is an existing school and we're putting another building on there, so therefore it meets the planning commission because it's an allowable use. Now the transportation concerns we will address in site review. And so again, Mr. as I showed previously. Okay, before Mr. Ratliff took over, Glenn Schottmeyer was in charge of transportation. And Glenn Schottmeyer, who was here, this is the approval that you have to get. You have to pay the fees, you have to go through all the agencies, and you have to obtain a site approval from Rick Cabrera and a permit from John Barrios, the chief building official. And the school is willing to do that, and I respectfully request your approval here. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Then with that, we'll close special use GEN 22-1657 and go to the next case.
Next item is item I2, special use 230747. The applicant is Family Dollar Stores of Florida. The request is for a special use 2 APS alcoholic beverage permit with separation waivers. Staff findings will be provided by Jared Follin after presentation by the applicant.
All right. I understand the applicant is virtual.
I'm hearing officer.
Oh, and here you are.
I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Madam Hearing Officer. My name is Rob Hosack. I'm a consultant with Decisions Consulting, LLC. We're located at 1100 Circle 75 Parkway, Suite 210 in Atlanta, Georgia, 30339. I'm here this morning assisting Family Dollar of Florida, LLC, at 1026 78th Street, Tampa, Florida, with, as had been referenced by staff, a special use application as well as some separation waivers as far as distance goes. My presentation this morning will be brief. I wanted to provide an overview of Family Dollar as well as a specific look at our store operational procedures, which we believe will demonstrate our commitment to responsible alcohol sales, ma'am. As an introduction, our license will be for beer and wine sales off-premise only. We are seeking this license really as a convenience for our existing customers as opposed to trying to get into business with another convenience store or perhaps act as a package store. Really, we're just trying to be able to make our customers not have to make a separate trip if they desire to purchase beer or wine while they're doing their normal retail shopping. Our hours of operation, Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. And just wanted to highlight a couple of things unique to Family Dollar, which again, I think kind of make us a little different than a package store or a convenience store. We don't sell liquor or vaping products, nor do we have advertisements or placards that go on windows that advertise such. We do not sell beer or wine at discounted prices. We sell them at normal prices you would find perhaps at Publix or Winn-Dixie. We also do not sell high alcohol content beer and wine. It's normally at about 5% ABV for the beer, 15% for the wine, Madam Hearing Officer. We don't sell singles. And unlike probably some other drugstores, package stores, or grocery stores, the amount of floor area that is within our store that is dedicated to the sale and display of alcohol is very, very small, probably less than 1% to 2% of the overall floor area. Very quickly, would like to provide some information to you, Madam Hearing Officer, as it relates to our unique approach, we think, to safe and responsible alcohol sales. Do some video surveillance that we think is very important. Not only do we do outside video surveillance that we are happy to provide or in coordination with law enforcement if necessary, but we also have cameras that are specific to where the alcohol is displayed and sold, as well as where is the checkout area. Do that not only to make sure that it's responsible alcohol sales, but it also helps our store and their safety plan efforts as administered by the store manager. We take a very, very serious approach to combating underage sales. We do that through a combination of training, signage, ID technology. I'm happy to report that through 2019 through 2021, our national rate of violations in percentage to the number of stores is less than 1% as far as underage sales go. Very quickly, would also like to just highlight some of the training that we put all of our new employees through, as well as an annual recertification. Important components, being able to verify a customer and its ID, verifying authenticity of the ID. Something that we also share with our employees and associates, knowing how to refuse a sale and how to do it respectfully, trying to de-escalate things that may occur when somebody is either intoxicated and doesn't need to be sold the alcohol, or is using a fake ID, and the associate needs to let them know that the form of identification isn't going to work. We also have a zero tolerance policy for underage sales that we think is important, as well as we actively cooperate in any kind of local law enforcement sting operations or undercover checks. As I mentioned also, Madam Hearing Officer, we have some unique handheld ID scanning technology that we like to use, as well as an internal self-audit program that we think has been very, very effective. And that kind of goes hand in hand with our zero tolerance policy. In the event during our mystery shopper exercises, if there is a violation of store policy, the associates put on written warning and explain that the zero tolerance policy, if it had not been part of the internal audit program, they would have likely been terminated as part of the policy. And that usually helps us maintain a very good environment within the store. Also wanted to mention there's a big commitment to safety, and if in the unfortunate event, if there are concerns that are expressed by local law enforcement, we're happy and have done in other jurisdictions. We'll partner with law enforcement if it's necessary, ma'am. And then we can do that through either the local police department, sheriff's office, or, third-party security. So to close, Madam Hearing Officer, we think the nature of our store is very different, and we believe that's grounds for approval. Our internal operations, we feel like, differentiate us and are also grounds for approval. We do concur with the professional staff's recommendation for approval and their findings that we do not have a significant impact on surrounding land uses, and that the circumstances we have kind of created through our unique approach have negated the need for the specified distance waiver. And I appreciate your time and attention, and am happy to answer any questions.
Just a question about if you heard from the churches that are in the notice distance.
Yes, ma'am. I attempted at Mr. Poland, Jared's suggestion. I reached out. I was able to speak with. Her name was Alicia Rodriguez at the Ministerio International Cristo Reina. I explained to them and provided them an electronic copy, Madam Hearing Officer, of our safety plan that we filed with Jared, as well as I kind of highlighted some of the things that I just provided to you. Being mindful that we follow our safety plan and that we make sure that if there are trash or anything that might blow over towards the church, they've asked us to be mindful of that. We're happy to do that. And honestly, our store managers are normally instructed to make sure that they do checks 2 or 3 times a day, just to make sure that the store looks to be in orderly condition. And then we had reached out several times. Unfortunately, there is not a working phone number for Valerie Goddard, who is the pastor of Keeney Chapel United Methodist. I had made a couple of different attempts via electronic mail, Your Honor, and was unsuccessful. We are happy if they were out of town or they were to contact us in the future, we're certainly happy to provide them the same information that we did to the other church that we engaged with, ma'am.
Understood. All right, thank you for that. I appreciate it. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we'll go to Development Services.
Jared Vaughn with Development Services. Again, this is a request to acquire a waiver to the distance separation requirement for a 2 APS alcoholic beverage permit. This wet zoning is being sought by the Family Dollar that's existing at 1026 South 78th Street, and will comprise of a footprint of about 10,000 square feet. According to the applicant and the submitted floor plan, only a small fraction of the square footage will be used for the display of alcohol or wine. For this type of permit, the site must be 500 feet from community uses and 50 feet from residentially zoned property. Based on the submitted survey, the proposed site is not within 50 feet of residential zoning, but will need 4 separation waivers for the 4 community uses that are within 500 feet. These uses are Keeney Chapel United Methodist Church, which is 206 feet away. Ministerio Internacional Cristo Reina Church is adjacent to the north. Claremont Elementary School is 152 feet to the west, and Dowdle Magnet School is 152 feet as well to the west. 3 of the community uses are across 78th Street, which is classified as a major roadway. The nearest crosswalk is 316 feet to the south, and walking distances to these uses are the following. Claremont about 600 feet, Dowdle Magnet 1,500 feet, and Keeney Chapel 1,200 feet. The community use directly adjacent to the proposed site is separated by a 4-foot tall fence and is about 200 feet walking distance to the front door. And additionally, the church property is zoned planned development 151141, which is the same zoning as the property for the proposed wet zoning. For our analysis, while the community uses across the street, 78th Street seem close, the walking distances to each use is an adequate distance to where we believe they will not be negatively impacted. And with the 80-foot wide road, we do not see any direct connection to these uses. Furthermore, the adjacent church to the north is also at an appropriate walking distance and is under the same zoning as the subject site, where the buffer requirement was waived between these 2 uses during the zoning, PD zoning. Additionally, the Family Dollar will only be using a small portion of the store as a display for the alcoholic beverages, which you can see in the floor plan that was submitted with the staff report. For these reasons, we do not find the proposed wet zoning to pose significant impacts on the surrounding land uses and find the proposed permit to be approvable. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, at this point, we'll call for anyone that would like to speak in support. Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No one. Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, then, sir, you have the last word if you'd like it.
May I be excused to go to the airport, Madam Hearing Officer?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Then with that, we'll close special use AB 23-0747. I think it's a good time to take a 5-minute break. So if you could be back here close to 12:05, and we'll resume the rest of the hearing. Thank you so much. Everyone, we're back from our recess for the August 28th, 2023 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. So, Ms. Marshall, let's call the next case.
Next item is item I3, Special Use 230755. The applicant is Shops at Stelling North LLC. The request is a special use 2 COPR alcoholic beverage permit with separation waivers. Staff findings will be provided by Chris Granlenard after presentation by the applicant.
All right, is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning, or I guess afternoon.
Oh, it is
6
afternoon,
minutes ago.
isn't it? Yes, thank you.
Jamie Mayer of the law firm Hillward Henderson, representing the applicant, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, and I have been sworn. I do have a brief presentation. I'll try to go through it as quickly as possible, however. Oh, yes, okay, there it is. So this is a request for a special use for AB sales, specifically a 2 COPR permit, which is beer and wine only, in connection with a restaurant where sales of food and non-alcoholic beverages have to be 51% or more of sales. And this is in an existing PD approved for commercial neighborhood type uses in Riverview. It's at the corner of US 301 and Stelling Drive. And this is a multi-tenant structure in the PD, and this is just one tenant in that structure, and it's going to be Mission Barbecue, who has some locations in Brandon and the area. This is a clip of the site plan. You can see the AB area that's proposed is outlined in red. That's the Mission Barbecue suite, where there is 3,907 square feet, and 295 of those are the little outdoor patio, which is similar to what Mission Barbecue has in other locations. The hours of operation are pretty consistent with commercial uses, and they are Mission Barbecue's restaurant service use hours of operation. So that's Monday through Saturday, 11 to 9 p.m., and Sundays from 11:30 to 8 p.m. And that outdoor area, as you saw on the site plan, is facing US 301, so it's not facing backwards towards the residential uses across Lackland. And those uses there are 2 within the 150-foot radius, and so we require separation waivers from those 2 residentially zoned properties. They are, again, they're west off of, across Lackland Road. That's 12921 Lackland Road and 12914 Loretta Road. We did receive a letter of support from Mr. Dowdy, who is one of those property owners, and I have not personally heard from the other property owner. These waivers are justified. This is a use that is similar to other uses up and down US 301 in this area because it is a highly commercialized corridor with a pattern of the commercial uses directly on 301 and then residential uses to the west behind them. For example, First Watch and Tijuana Flats are just about 1,000 feet, just over 1,000 feet south of the use, and they have 2 COPR permits as well, to my knowledge. The PD that's approved that governs the site as a whole has buffers and other conditions that protect the residential uses specifically. So there's a fence that's going to be along the entire back of the property between Lackland Road and those uses, between the property and Lackland Road. And Lackland Road provides an additional separation. And as I mentioned earlier, the hours of operation are consistent with other commercial uses in the area, and so would not produce any significant or unusual impact to the area. This is just a map view and an aerial view of a snippet of this corridor of US 301 and how commercialized it is, with the property in the very top circled or in a red rectangle. Staff recommends approval with conditions of the hours of operation, and we respectfully request, Madam Hearing Officer, your approval as well. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. All right, Development Services. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Chris Granlenard, planner with Development Services. Ready to present application, special use application, AB application 23-755. The wet zoning is sought by a proposed restaurant, Mission Barbecue, located at the northwest corner of US Highway 301 and Stelling Drive in Riverview. The wet zoned area will comprise a footprint of 3,907 square feet of total area, which is in the wet zoning survey in the record, with 295 square feet of outdoor patio area. The property is zoned planned development, most recently modified by PRS 21-0360, which allows the host to use in consideration of the proposed wet zoning. Distance separation requirements involved. Per LDC section 611.11D4, the following distance separation requirements apply to the proposed wet zoning. The distance from the proposed structure to residentially zoned property shall be 150 feet. But according to the survey in the record submitted by the applicant, the request does not comply with this requirement. On the survey in the record, there are 2 properties within 150 feet, zoned RSC 6 to the west across Lackland Road, 172 feet, and the other's 83 feet from the establishment to the west. The second requirement, the distance from the proposed structure to certain community uses shall be 500 feet. According to the applicant survey, they do comply with that requirement. Requested separation waivers. The applicant requests 78 feet and 67-foot waivers to the required 150-foot separation from the residentially zoned property to allow a separation of 72 feet and 83 feet. The applicant's justification for the waiver includes the following. The 2 COP are alcoholic beverage use classification. It's a common use along the western and eastern sides of the Highway 301, and it is a highly commercialized corridor. Number 2, the residentially zoned properties are separated from the proposed wet zoning area by Lackland Road, and the approved PD requires a 10-foot buffer area along the PD boundary on the Lackland Road with a 6-foot high fence and evergreen plants and a ground cover throughout the buffer with evergreen shade trees to be planted at a height of 10 feet at the time of planting. Number 3, the PD requires that the delivery trucks for any uses within the PD access Stelling Drive with no westbound movement onto Lackland Road. Number 4, the alcoholic beverage sales use is interior to the structures proposed on the site and shall be in compliance with all other applicable LDC regulations for such uses. The PD already contemplates CN-type uses with buffering and screening and other impact safeguards. Therefore, the proposed alcoholic beverage permit will not result in negative impacts on the surrounding uses. Staff findings. The single-family residential to the properties to the west that are located within the 150 feet of the proposed wet zoning, as noted, will be screened from the proposed wet zone area by a 6-foot high fence along the western boundary of the PD zoned parcel, well as evergreen plants at the time of planting and a minimum of 3 feet in height. A row of evergreen shade trees which are not less than 10 feet high at the time of planting, a minimum of 2-inch califer and spaced not more than 10 feet apart, and an evergreen ground cover over the remaining of the 10-foot wide buffer along Lackland Road per PD zoning requirements. The PD zoning also prohibits rear access driveways, as mentioned. The entrance of the proposed restaurant area faces east, as noted by the applicant, away from the residentially zoned parcels towards Highway 301. The walking distance from the restaurant to the property line of the nearest residential parcel is over 200 feet. Also, the proposed wet zoning is located along a principal arterial roadway, Highway 301, with approximately 185 feet of right-of-way width. Numerous commercial developments exist along U.S. Highway 301 in the vicinity, including shopping centers and numerous wet zone establishments. Also, per LDC section 611.11.I, limits the hours of sales of alcoholic beverages to Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. of the following day, and 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. of the following day on Sundays. The applicant has agreed to limit the sale of alcoholic beverages to Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Sunday, 11:30 to 8 p.m., to mitigate any potential impact on the surrounding properties. Staff finds the proposed wet zoning with the proposed condition of approval does not pose significant impacts on the surrounding land uses and the necessity for the specified distance requirements is negated. Recommendation, staff finds the proposed 2-cop R alcoholic beverage permit to be approvable, subject to conditions. Approval is based on the wet zone survey, reflecting a total wet zone footprint of 3,907 square feet as shown on the wet zone survey in the record. The proposed condition in a statement, the sale of alcoholic beverages on the premises shall be limited to Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Sunday, 11:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. That concludes my staff report. Glad to answer any questions you might have.
None at this time, but
Thank
thank you
you
so much. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No one. All right, Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, the applicant, you have the last word? All right, thank you so much. Then with that, we'll close special use AB 23-0755 and go to the next case.
Next case is item I4, special use 23-0759. The applicant is Liquor and Brothers LLC. The request is a special use 3PS alcoholic beverage permit with separation waivers. Staff findings will be provided by Camille Crocta after presentation by the applicant.
All right, this is the one I believe the applicant is virtual. Is that correct? Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Hi, ma'am. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yes, this is the wet zoning is for a 3PS. It's going to be a liquor store located at 8542 Gun Highway within the establishment of Keystone Crossing Shopping Center. The wet zone area contains 1,462 square feet. It's indoor, and there will be no outdoor area. Asking for 2 waivers. The first waiver is for 500 feet within community use. The Growing Tree Academy is located to the south. It is approximately 450 feet away. The storefront faces the east. There is a shopping center parking lot, separates proposed use and the daycare. The walking distance between the proposed wet zoning and the daycare is over 500 feet. So we're asking for 50 feet. The second waiver is for residential within 250 feet. The residential zoning is located approximately 120 feet to the west of the site. The storefront faces to the east and from the subdivision. Behind the center, there is a service drive, landscaping, open space, and a 6-foot high block wall. There is no direct vehicular or pedestrian access between the shopping center and the residential subdivision. The walking distance is well over 1,505 to the entrance, asking for a waiver of 130 feet. Do you have any questions?
Just regarding if you heard from the daycare center or those residential property owners as a part of your adjacent property owner notice.
No, ma'am, I have not heard from anybody. No one has contacted me.
All right, that was it. Thank you so much. We'll go to
Can
development.
you
services.
identify yourself for the record, please? We didn't get the name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dixie Liberty, 200 Adams Avenue, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, 42240.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Camille Crocta, Development Services. Pretty much just to reiterate what the applicant had stated, there is a request for a 3PS alcoholic beverage permit for the sale of beer, wine, and liquor to be sold in sealed containers only for consumption off the permitted premises. The wet zoning is sought by a proposed liquor store located at 8542 Gun Highway in the established Keystone Crossing Shopping Center, which is currently zoned Citrus Park Village. They're requesting a waiver to distance requirements for residentially zoned and community uses within the required distance waiver separation areas. According to the wet zone survey, the subject property is located 120 feet from residentially zoned property, planned development, PD 840098, and the applicant is requesting a 130-foot waiver, which covers all the residentially zoned properties within the required 250 feet. The subject property is also located approximately 450 feet from a community use, which is a child care facility, and they are requesting a 50-foot distance separation waiver from the 500 required foot separation. Staff findings, the single-family residential subdivision is located to the northeast of the property and is accessed by Keystone Crossing Boulevard, which is approximately 1,900 feet from pedestrian and automotive travel. There's also the service drive with landscape buffer and 6-foot block wall located to the rear of the property from the proposed wet zone. Just as a side note, the shopping center was constructed in 1989, which is prior to the development of the residential homes to the north and west, which were built in the early 1990s. The Child Care Academy is located on the south of Mobley Road, which is a 2-lane collector road approximately 50 feet in width. Walking distance to the Child Care Center from the proposed wet zone exceeds 500 feet. Which was noted, there's a east-facing orientation with no direct line of sight to the community use and is separated by the parking lot. Given the above consideration, staff finds the proposed 3PS alcoholic beverage permit to be approvable based on the revised wet zone survey received August 17th, 2023 that reflects a total footprint of 1,462 square feet. This concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
None at this time, but thank you so much. Sure. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition? No one. Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right. Ms. Liberty, you have the last word if you'd like it. I didn't hear you. I assume that nothing further? All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Then we'll close special use AB 23-0759 and go to the last case.
The last case is in Section J, Appeals. Item J1, Appeal 230644. The applicant is Tony Sullivan. The request is an appeal of the administrator's decision in zoning interpretation 230370 concerning the proposed use of property located at 401 Mahogany Drive in Seffner, identified as tax folio number 66883.2256. Zoning interpretation decision was dated May 31st, 2023. The subject appeal was submitted on June 16, 2023, and therefore was timely filed pursuant to LDC Section 100501C1. Brian Grady is available for any questions regarding the zoning interpretation decision.
Before we start, if you can, I just wanted to verify with Ms. Dorman of the County Attorney's Office the scope of my review in terms of appeals. And if you could verify that it is the evaluation that I'm to give is not specifically of the opinion, my opinion one way or another, but whether the zoning administrator erred in his finding. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Hearing Officer. In 10.05.01F, it states that upon a finding of error of the administrative decision, the hearing officer shall identify the error and is authorized to take any action that the administrator was authorized to take any action that the administrator was authorized to take under this code.
All right, perfect.
So you're looking for essentially reversible error.
I see. Thank you so much for that clarification. And if I could ask you before we begin, you may be aware the Land Development Code requires that I file a decision regarding the appeal within 5 working days, as opposed to the 15 that is on every other case. What you may not be aware of is the transcript for this hearing is typically not available to us until 4 or 5 working days as well. So if I could ask for your allowance to file this in 15 working days as well as to my decision. Is that acceptable to you?
Yes, ma'am. And I wanted to know, I haven't been sworn yet, so you might want to do that before I accept anything, but.
Yes, I will. All right. Is there anyone else that plans to speak that has not been sworn? If you can. If you plan to speak, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So if it's acceptable to you, then I would file within 15 working days, similar to the other cases on this agenda, and that would be September 19th. That would be the filing date for my decision. All right, so with all that said, thank you for that, I appreciate it. Go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Simone Savino with Stearns Weaver Miller, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Tony Sullivan. In this case, she's the appellant. I'm here today for ZI 230370, and we're appealing the zoning administrator's decision concerning the use of property located at 401 Mahogany Drive in Seffner. The property is zoned RSC 6, and it's currently classified as a community residential home type A, per LDC section 61128, and it's thus subject to a minimum separation of 1,000 feet from other existing community residential homes type A. We've requested a zoning interpretation designating the proposed use of the property as a professional residential facility, which is defined by LDC section 120100. The ZI came back with a difference of opinion as to the use, and specifically in the application of the LDC's terms of structured environment and relatively intensive treatment of that of a professional residential facility. Per LDC Part 120100, a structured environment is defined as a residential setting in which persons progressing from relatively intensive treatment for crime, delinquency, mental or emotional illness, alcoholism, drug addiction, or similar conditions to full participation in community life. I want to stress that last classification of similar conditions because it leaves open the definition for other considerations that are not listed in that definition. The appellant property owner disagrees with the zoning administrator's application of this LDC term, structured environment, in which residents can seemingly only progress to the property from an intensive treatment for crime, delinquency, mental or emotional illness, alcoholism, drug addiction, but we feel that they're not considering that last catch-all or similar conditions. So a little background here. The appellant property owner is seeking to establish a Florida Department of Children and Family, so DCF, licensed residential group home on the property. Let me explain what that entails. A DCF residential group home would serve dependency youth as a residential establishment providing board, lodging, supervision, medication, counseling, and other therapeutic services to persons who are not related to the owner but are in need of a structured environment. That term actually comes up in the definition of what the appellant is trying to provide on the property. Once licensed by the DCF, the professional residential facility would provide permanent residences to up to 6 male children, progressing to the facility by DCF as a result of abuse, neglect, or abandonment. The children are typically removed by DCF and placed under court supervision with a qualified family member, foster family, or group home or temporary housing for 24 to 72 hours while more permanent housing is located. This would be considered a place that they could go in between that time period. Unfortunately, there's just not enough foster parents willing to accept children in needs of placement for overnight care. It's in the news, so even not this particular matter, but in the news about 3 weeks ago, the WFLA News Channel 8 published an article noting that foster children are currently sleeping in offices just because there's no place for them to sleep overnight. So there is a need for these types of facilities, and the appellant property owner is trying to create a new one here in the area. A residential group home is necessary to ensure all children in need of permanent placement are housed properly. They would provide supervised staff for every day, every hour, 24/7. The facility provides a very structured environment. It includes meals, home chores, play, medication, and they would take the children to and from school, facilitate tutors, homework completion. There is no determined time limit on the time that a child would be in the facility, so they would have to have all these services available to the children. All of the children placed in a DCF residential group home are traumatized, and that's because they've been removed from a caretaker as a result of abuse, neglect, or abandonment. We believe that that type of trauma is a similar condition under the definition of structured environment. What's interesting here, and this is kind of just part of our appeal to you, is that the current classification of a community residential home type A, it is a permissible condition of the property zoning, but it's just subject to that minimum separation requirement of 1,000 feet. And in this situation, there's a neighboring community residential home type A located 368 feet away, which the appellant was not aware of at the time that she purchased the property. However, she did do a due diligence search because she is in the business of licensing homes under DCF. So without a finding that her use constitutes a professional residential facility, she will likely have to sell this home and move this business elsewhere. I say business, but it's her licensure. So she can receive the proper licensure to run a home overnight for young men. So with these considerations in mind, we ask that you apply the LDC's terms of structured environment and relatively intensive treatment as broadly as possible so as to place the structure within the professional residential facility classification. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Before you go. You mentioned the appellant has operated these kinds of facilities in other locations. Would that be in unincorporated Hillsborough County?
I don't believe so. This would be her first in Hillsborough County.
Okay. And is this facility, the proposed facility, to be licensed by the Florida Department of Health and Rehabilitative Services?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Will there be a kitchen, a dining area, a separate sleeping area, all of that?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. I believe that's it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I appreciate it. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Grady, if you'd like to make any comments or anything you'd like to add to the record.
I have no comments, just available if you have any questions. I think our findings stand for itself in the zoning interpretation, so.
All right, so it does seem that this all boils down to that definition of structured environment and the zoning opinion, the zoning interpretation being that this facility does not, it does not provide any of those services.
Well, our determination was that the services that they're providing more closely aligns with personal care services, which are permissible uses as part of community residential homes. So we felt that and basically, again, the definition of structured environment and the requirement for relatively intensive treatment, that we felt that the level of service did not rise that level to constitute meeting that definitional requirement regarding the type of services being provided for the residents.
And that would also include the end of that definition, which is the appellant's representative talked about, or similar conditions.
Correct.
Being similar to those previously
Correct.
Stated.
Yes.
I see.
Correct.
All right. All right. Those were the only questions I had. In terms of process, we don't call for proponents or opponents. It's just the appeal. All right. So then I'll let you have the last word if you'd like. You're good. All right. So thank you for that. Then with that, we'll close Appeal 23-0644 and adjourn the hearing. Thank you all for your time.